Allah, I pray that every single woman under the sound of my voice is activated to level up her boundaries so fiercely that she protects herself, that she never gets played again, and that she is so empowered and so powerful, so protected, that it allows space for her softness, it preserves her softness, and so she is able to manifest the man of her dreams and the life of her dreams and have the love that she knows deep within her soul that she was meant to have. I really pray for that for all women under the sound of my voice today. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in. This is Mayush, the Lebanese Soul Diva, and today I'm going to be talking about the Wizard Liz, predators, and feminine boundaries. So I was not planning on recording this episode until I saw a thread on Threads really wholly encompassed exactly how I was feeling about the Wizard Liz situation that I've been seeing on my algorithm all week. So the thread is from a creator called @NoMercyNoLove. The thread said, "Not even trying to exaggerate, but the whole Wizard Liz situation is exactly why Islam said don't have kids outside marriage. Y'all call it outdated, we call it structure. She's engaged, not married. Seems like the comments are full of delusional baby mama defenders who think struggle love is empowerment. Baby mamas don't have legal ground, wives do. A wife gets half the assets, a girlfriend gets ghosted. In marriage, cheating has a price. Outside it, he vanishes and you get clowned. Keep romanticizing broken systems. No man is losing sleep. Cheers." So this thread very perfectly encompasses everything I have been feeling about the situation all week, because while I see somebody like Liz, an incredibly beautiful, talented, and successful female, and a female creator, I think more often than not, we see the women in the public eye making terrible relationship choices. And while it really disheartens me to see this situation, it did not surprise me in the least. So I'm not really a close follower of Liz. I have watched her videos over the years, and her videos have definitely gotten me through a hard day or two. But I never really resonated on a soul level with her content. I admire her, and hats off to an extremely successful woman in my field, content creation, and she's so beloved by the women community and just the global community in general. So even though she's not my cup of tea, I still have deep admiration and respect for her. So to my understanding, she met a man named, I don't know his name, and it's totally irrelevant. He's not gonna get any more clout off of this video. So she met a man who slid in her DMs on Instagram. To my understanding, he had a girlfriend at the time when he originally started pursuing Liz, and then basically they end up in a relationship and then engaged, living together, pregnant, and this is all before saying their wedding vows and making a legal commitment to one another. So the point of this video today is to kind of shed light on how delusional that is and how backwards it is to be going about the romance game and the love and dating and relationships and marriage thing completely backwards. It's like literally backwards. And I don't really understand why anybody thinks this would work. The fact that she's going about this backwards to me is the explanation for why this happened to her, more than the reasoning that I've been seeing all over the internet of like men ain't shit or men are inherently untrustworthy. I don't believe that to be true whatsoever. And I also believe it to be very true at the same time. So let me explain. We are living in the wild, okay? We are at the top of the animal kingdom. Women, of all the creatures on the planet, human women, we are the most valuable members of society. We're the ones that are able to create life. We hold a portal to life and like love and all things soft and precious and beautiful. We are the creators of life in every way. So, for some reason, I'm not sure at what point, maybe during the sexual liberation movement, when we were jealous of men sleeping around, and we thought that it would be empowering if we also started sleeping around and decreasing the price of access to us. The reason that men were able to do that in the first place was because men are literally 5 times stronger than women, physically stronger. Men are a lot less vulnerable than women. So men putting themselves in illicit sexual situations or just dating situations with the weaker sex is a lot less unsafe for them. Whereas for women, we are the weaker vessel. We are the weaker gender. We come from man's rib, meaning like we're a part of man. We have a fraction of his strength and his testosterone. So we are the weaker sex. And I think at some point in trying to obtain equal rights, we started acting like that was not true. And as a result, we started putting ourselves in dangerous situations that wouldn't be so dangerous for men, but are extremely dangerous and damaging for us. So, for example, modern dating, hookup culture, and dating apps and stuff like that, and just like meeting people online in general, which makes me deeply, deeply uncomfortable. If I'm gonna have a conversation with somebody online, we either need to have a lot of mutuals, or we have to have met in person in like also a situation where there's like mutuals and like community and like people know this person. The problem I think with trying to achieve equality, date the way that men date, is that we're a lot more valuable and precious than men, and fragile and delicate than men. I'm not sure at what point that we decided it's safe to go home with a man that we just met, even go home and be alone with a man who is vetted, or give men access to our bodies to sleep with us, live with men, and do everything for men that are not legally responsible for the repercussions of what happens to us from a result of letting our guards completely down with them. So the reason I love that thread is because my channel is dedicated to encouraging young women of all ages, to, if they are desiring love and romance, to prepare themselves to step into a marriage and a forever divine union, and prepare themselves to find their husband and to attract and manifest their husbands. Because in my mind, marriage is the only option for romance and dating and love. And when I see somebody like Liz, I feel that Liz is a textbook example of how the modern, particularly Western woman is going about dating and relationships, which is making marriage the ceiling. For some reason, we've made marriage the ceiling, meaning like we will agree to go through all of this stuff with a man, being his girlfriend, moving in with him, sleeping with him, having his child, all before marriage, which is totally a backwards concept, because the reason marriage exists in the first place is actually a mercy from God. Yes, marriage is highly beneficial for men because wives are a covering for a man. They're a veil for a man. Like, wives cover and protect, pray, and love, and spiritually and energetically protect their husbands. But even more so, marriage is a mercy for women, designed to preserve the value and protect women who are the weaker vessel. I have noticed a lot of women either hating on marriage, or they want to get married so badly, but they don't understand truly what the concept of marriage is. Before marriage is about love and romance, marriage is about legally preserving a woman's safety. And I love the concept of marriage so much because it kind of bypasses all the bullshit. As a woman, if marriage is the only thing on the table, then you're immediately gonna start having much more intentional, meaningful conversations with men right off the bat. Like, you're gonna be able to start vetting them. Like, first of all, if you tell a man you want marriage, it scares a lot of men off. So that already is a pretty good filter system. And then secondly, say you meet a man, you tell him that you're dating for marriage, and he also desires to date for marriage. Then right off the bat, you're having these intense, deep, lifelong, partner level questions that make it very easy to suss out if somebody is a match for you immediately. And honestly, asking questions like, is there any history of cheating in your family? Has your father ever cheated on your mother? Things like that, to me, is like totally a green light. Other thing that I love about dating for marriage specifically is that it just takes things up a notch. And yes, it's a time saver. Everything becomes so much more intentional and so much more serious. If somebody is not ready to like be serious immediately, then they'll be weeded out. And then additionally, when you're dating for marriage, the vetting process with community members and family happens a lot sooner. If you're a woman that treats yourself as like the most valuable thing, and we are out here in the wild and men are inherently dangerous and much stronger than us, therefore I have to protect myself. I have to take every single measure to protect myself. That means that like when I meet a man and I see him as a prospect, one of the first things that we're gonna do is like bring him around other men in my family. Like bring him around my uncles, bring him around my male cousins, bring him around my dad and my brother, because the men in my family, like, there's a certain level of respect that the man that is courting me is going to have to like rise to and show up. And also, if a man is like a predator, the men in your family are going to be able to suss him out so fast. Like that male intuition in that, like with regard to other men, in my opinion, is even stronger than the female intuition, because sometimes like moms like can be just as charmed by a prospect as like you are, whereas like your brothers, your uncles, your dad are gonna be like no, like they're gonna tell if a guy is like el botayib, or like if he's a good man, or if he's like gonna play you or like cheat on you. I really hate modern dating. I think it is so detrimental to both women and men, because like since we're doing everything backwards and we're not taking ourselves seriously enough for marriage, for the ultimate commitment and sacrifice, that like legal protection, you know, like that comes with legal protection for women, especially like for the weaker vessel, and predators who like historically have even made it to the next generations just by being charming. Like Liz's guy, he probably comes from a long line of predators. Like I bet you that man comes from a long line of predators that have made it here from charming and playing their way into the next generation. For example, he was so charming, so loving, so fake trustworthy that he was able to successfully pass on his seed. So he got what he needed as a man from Liz, which was to pass on, to procreate, to like keep his like life legacy going. And you know, I just find it so funny that, you know, he waited till like just the point where she could no longer have an abortion, like that baby was gonna be born no matter what, to like reveal his true colors. So that's why I think being a man's girlfriend, having a man's child outside of marriage, participating in hookup culture, giving men access to your womb, men especially that aren't vetted and that aren't legally responsible for you in marriage, it's like literally you're letting a man stab you in your weakest point. And I mean that literally, because as a woman, like our wombs, our yoni, like our life force energy lives in this space, and you letting a man just like that hasn't been vetted to the maximum like enter that space is like you are allowing him to violate you, period. Like I really believe like if a man is not your husband, then that is a violation of your life force energy, because he is already getting more out of that transaction than you are, and you're putting yourself at risk of pregnancy, of disease, all by a man that, if he's not legally bound to you, will face no repercussions. Like he can literally just ghost you. So I saw a video from my arch nemesis Christian Walker on TikTok. The reason he's my arch nemesis, and I say this with love, like no actual hate towards this creator, I feel that his content is literally just throwing gas on the flame of the echo chamber of women who hate men and who see a situation like what happened to Liz, and immediately their solution to that situation is to hate men and deem men as untrustworthy and that men ain't shit. That is a deeply disempowering stance to take, because if as women we can't acknowledge that Liz played herself in this situation by like getting pregnant with this man before he's legally responsible, like that's her fault. Like I'm so sorry, but it's not her fault, because she just lacks the knowledge and lacks the education to know better, to do better. But at the same time, it's like still the onus was on her to protect herself from that predator, not an onus on the predator to not be a predator. And just because Liz let a predator pull a fast one on her doesn't mean that all men are predators. It just means that as women, we need to learn how to distinguish predators from good men and do every single thing that we possibly can in order to protect ourselves from something like this happening. So the reason I have such a distaste for Christian Walker is because he's always making videos about how men should be treating you like a queen, and like if he's not treating you like a queen, then he's just ain't shit, and like men just ain't shit. Always posting stories and everything about like men just being bad, and it just like I just see women in my community like agreeing and relating, and it just is so painful, because we're literally outsourcing our power by blaming men for the bad things that the predators do to us, that bad men do to us. Because by blaming men, it's literally saying like we as women are so helpless and weak and we're just prey. It's literally just like we're saying we're just prey, and like we don't have any power to protect ourselves from men. And like even though we want love so badly and so deeply. Like, it's biologically encoded in us to want to procreate and to experience divine love. Like, that is a human design, not a weakness. But like, because we keep trusting predators and like being super like having no boundaries, and like the gates to our bodies and our life and our life force energy and our wombs are like wide open, and then predators inevitably are like the first ones to make it through, because quite honestly, high value men can spot a woman that has her gates open and has her boundaries down and doesn't understand her worth, and they stay far away from those women because they're like, I don't want to procreate with a woman who would not like would just allow anyone access to her that hasn't been vetted and that hasn't paid the ultimate price. Like, I'm not gonna even involve myself. I'm not even gonna invest or pursue that woman, because if she has my children, I need a woman that's gonna teach my daughter, instill that, you know, his daughter needs to protect herself at all costs, protect her body, not participate in hookup culture. God forbid, not be a girlfriend, not let somebody's son test drive her and then later decide if he wants to pay the ultimate price. No, that's why women, when your boundaries are down, when your boundaries are low, when you're casual with sex, hate men and don't understand your power, that it's your responsibility to protect yourself as a woman from predators. When you don't understand that, when you don't fundamentally understand that like we're cheetahs in the wild and this is a fucking wild, wild west and a crazy ass world with dangerous people everywhere, and that you need to protect yourself and vet people thoroughly. Like, if you don't understand that and you're so desperate still for romance because your biology is like, and that's so valid to want romance, but you want it so badly that you don't protect yourself before you just go for it, you can't blame men for that. You can't blame a thief for walking into a house that with the doors wide open. And, you know, just a word on love and relationships in general. Having boundaries and standards like this don't protect you from getting hurt, okay? Like, they don't take it from a girl that has boundaries, like, to hear and has still literally been crying all day over a man. Boundaries and standards and having your right mind, your wits about you as a woman doesn't protect you from getting hurt, because love and romance requires such deep vulnerability. It requires so much surrender and faith and like healing that it's gonna hurt you either way. But it's like, choose your pain. I have chosen the pain of being alone and being overprotective of myself, and I have overcorrected a little bit. And while I'm really proud of like the mind I've cultivated and the boundaries I've cultivated, and no man can ever pull a fast one on me, at the same time I have trouble letting a man in. Like, letting a man in when like my heart of hearts tells me that this is a good man and like I can trust this man, I'm still healing, you know, like, and I'm still experiencing some of the deepest pain I've ever experienced, because it's not easy. And because not even just the men that have hurt me in the past, but like my childhood trauma, like my familial trauma, is like I have a deep-seated fear of rejection that like now I'm overcorrecting and protecting myself, and like I'm closed off and like I run away before I can get rejected. So that's my pain. That's my pain that I'm dealing with. Just because I make these videos doesn't mean like I have it all figured out. I absolutely do not. However, a man is never gonna come in and fucking ruin my life. I'm never going to give a man everything and then have his child, and then he cheats on me and runs off on me, and then I'm connected to that man for the rest of my life. I recognize that we're in the West, and like there's some paradigms that like I can't escape. And honestly, yeah, like men in the West are really wounded as well. Men are just as wounded as women. Like men are just as broken as women. Encountering men in my community and seeing the ways that we're broken, and honestly, yes, like a lot of us are broken because, and I'm largely broken from experiences I had as like a baby girl, but I think a lot of us are also broken because of these boyfriend girlfriend, these temporary relationships where like we just decided to like start doing this deeply sacred act that God designed to only take place between people who have made the ultimate commitment to each other. And we're just kind of like, we just kind of made it into a hobby. Literally, I saw some video that was like, y'all took the most sacred act on the planet and turned it into a hobby, literally, with hookup culture. You're doing this hobby with someone, like you're sleeping with someone, you're dating them, but you're not married. Like there's no investment keeping you like tethered. There's no like reputation or financial stake keeping the man tethered. Like, and then you guys can just break up at any time. To think that that's not subconsciously damaging us, that we're like engaging in this act that we were divinely designed to only engage in with our one like true love, like our nasib, our the spouses that God created for us, our Adam or our Eve, and then we're doing it with people that like seem like they would be that in the moment, but then they're not. Like they haven't been vetted. Like you don't see yourself with that person forever. Like neither of you has the intention to go that distance when you get in the entanglement, and then it just like ends. And I think that's just creating, and like one person leaves, and it's so fucking easy to leave. There's no legal repercussions, there's no familial accountability, the families aren't involved, like it's just y'all. Like God's not even involved, because if he was, y'all wouldn't even have been doing all that stuff in the first place outside of marriage. And it's like people are hurting. Like people are hurting. Like I'm seeing people I love hurting, and people on the internet hurting because we're just doing everything backwards, and we're trying to like jump to the most sacred prize, which is like intimacy. We're not qualified for it. Haven't met the qualifications. These men haven't met the qualifications to enter us, and yet we're letting them enter us. We're letting them claim us. Like, how much fucking clout did that guy get off of Liz? She has 3.5 million followers on YouTube. That woman is globally known and loved. And this man, he didn't even have to legally claim her to have her. And I feel people nowadays think what makes a woman a high value woman is she has a great career and she's really successful. That is not at all what makes a woman a high value woman. And I don't even like that term, but you know, it gets the point across. What makes a woman a high value mate, and a mate that they can trust and take seriously, is she knows who she is as a woman, and she requires the ultimate sacrifice from him, the ultimate commitment from him to provide value, to operate as a wife, to operate as a partner. Because she knows that, first of all, predators, you can still end up marrying a predator. I'm not saying that it's 1,000% foolproof, but I think it is 999.9% foolproof if you do things the traditional route of like meeting, dating intentionally for marriage, like having the vetting process with your families, with your masculine, community, like vetting men, like making sure they're not predators. Because imagine, say you're engaged, they've gone through the initial round of vetting, your baba and your mama and your uncles and your brother, everybody approves. And because when a man proposes, he proposes and you want to marry him, so you say yes on the condition that my family approves, because I still belong to my family. I still belong to someone. People still care about my well-being. Those are the people that are gonna have to pick up the pieces if this breaks apart. So like, let's lessen the burden on them and let them inspect if you're worthy of my hand, worthy of my body, worthy of my kisses and my hugs and my love. Let's let them, because I belong to them. As women also, you know, we're so independent, but community is everything. Like, we can't do this by ourselves. When I moved to Los Angeles and I knew marriage is my number one desire in life. God kept telling me my husband was in LA. So I like to think that I can trust God's word. So, you know, I for many, many reasons moved to LA. Marriage being my top desire, I knew that if I was gonna move away from my mama and baba, alhamdulillah, like I have uncles and masculine cousins here and community that can, like family community, like built in before I even moved here, that could like be a part of the vetting process. But additionally, like the first thing I did when I moved to LA was join a church. Let me befriend as many people as possible. Let me befriend as many men, like as many like discerning masculine men, as like high value men as possible. And like, let me befriend like the pastors and, you know, the matriarchs and the patriarchs and everybody in the community, because when that man that God says he has for me here in LA shows up and starts courting me, I will have community spaces to bring him into, to vet him, so that I can have these community members like that I built, that I spent time like coming to their services and pouring into them and talking with them and getting to know them. When the time comes and I need them for something, they'll be there. So even if you don't have family, as a woman, like there's always communities that will take you in no matter where you live. There's always a community, like a church, a masjid, a temple, whatever religion, and irrespective of religion as well. I feel like my coworkers now, my masculine friend coworkers, could help me vet men. And the people in the Arab community now could help me vet men. I made a point to build my community when I moved to Los Angeles, like as a single woman, because I needed a family to build my next family, to build my legacy. We can't do any of this without community. So if you take nothing else from this video, it's that community is the most valuable thing that we can have as a woman. And I'd like to think that if Liz, you know, I don't know her life. I don't know anything about her really. I know that if she had some more strong community and men and people vetting this guy, he wouldn't have made the cut. And if she at least had to make it to marriage, maybe he wouldn't have made the cut. It's not about playing hard to get and, you know, taking a long time to answer text messages. And it's about actually acknowledging that you are very vulnerable as a woman, the most powerful but also the most vulnerable here on this planet. And you know, vulnerability is power, so it's like a catch-22. But you are vulnerable. Yes, you were designed to experience love with a man. How else are we gonna go into the next generation and procreate? You're designed for that. That's not any woman that tries to deny herself of that because men can't be trusted. That's totally fine. Like, respect to you. Not everybody was made to make it, to procreate and make it into the next generation. Natural selection is a thing. Evolution is a thing. That's okay. But for those of you who do desire legacy love, divine union, and real love and romance and partnership with a man, with a king, it's gonna be a lot easier to attract those kings when you're a queen. I'm sorry, but like, not all of you are queens, okay? Some of you are still princesses, okay? Some of you are still peasants, okay? I have been there. I'm stepping into queendom now. If you don't love yourself enough to educate yourself, and honestly, I don't mean to push religion on people, but like dating and romance and relationships is one place that religion is just so undeniably spot on about, that if you go to religion for nothing else but dating and relationships as a woman, I think you'll be very successful in your life and romance. And like, obviously, like, don't be a shitty person. You know, Liz, I don't know if she said she was leaving him, but she was like, I just have to love myself more. I love that for her. We need her to love herself, but that love, that self-love is incomplete without these boundaries and this vetting process and the standard of a man having to go to the top. He spent his whole life working for something. Okay, then he marries you, then he's not gonna marry you. If he plans on cheating on you before he gets married, knowing that like you'll get half the assets if he cheats on you, he's not gonna marry you if he's a cheater, you know? Marriage is designed to protect us as women. Yeah, and another, just like the last thing I'll say is, I think Liz, like, a lot of the time pushed like, oh, he must be obsessed with you and, you know, like, court you like this. But it's like, look what that got her. That like love bombing kind of energy where a man pursues you so hard. It's very deeply intoxicating for women, you know? Like when a man is just relentlessly pursuing you, always talking to you, always texting you. That to me has come to be a little bit of a red flag, because
the man that violated me
was like that, and it was something that my wounded soul so desperately needed. And I thought that that was what all the other men in my life had lacked. Ultimately, like, it was not consensual, but I still have to take responsibility, because I still allowed that person in my space. I played a part. I'm not just a victim. Women, we're not just these victims. Stop outsourcing your power to men. Take control of your life, because even when I was
violated
and I wanted to hate men and never trust men again and never even look at a man ever again, it didn't solve the deep desire and knowing in my soul that I was meant to experience love with a man. So hating men and blaming men, it doesn't solve anything for you. So the only thing left is to look inwards and take responsibility and level yourself up as a woman. Allah, I pray that every single woman under the sound of my voice is activated to level up her boundaries so fiercely that she never gets played again, and that she is so empowered and so powerful, protected, that preserves her softness, and so she is able to manifest the man of her dreams and the life of her dreams and have the love that she knows deep within her soul that she was meant to have. I really pray for that for all women under the sound of my voice today. And, you know, these boundaries, the reason you need to protect yourself so fiercely is to preserve your softness. Because, you know, the women that are hating men and blaming men on everything, and it's because they've allowed a man to violate them. And I'm not saying all situations where a man has violated is a woman's responsibility, but I really feel like 90% of violations nowadays could have been prevented with a woman having more boundaries. And I just hate to see women losing their softness because they didn't have boundaries. Because your boundaries are your masculine protection, and you need that masculine protection and structure around yourself to preserve your softness, to preserve the precious beauty that's inside of you. We can't let these men, we can't let the predators, the predator men that were never even supposed to make it into the next generation, that were never even supposed to have a woman trick us into thinking that all men are bad and trick us into hardening and abandoning the soft inner child and woman within us that still believes in fairy tales and still believes that love is possible and love is real. I really believe that love is so real. You know, I've never had it. I've never experienced it. But I believe in it, and I'm never gonna stop believing in it. So I just want that for you, and I just want you to protect yourself because you're so precious, and I want you to be empowered and take responsibility for your own outcomes. Okay? That's all. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at myush.lsd. And I also just created an account for Soul Diva Confessions, so also follow me at Soul Diva Confessions on Instagram. I love you so much.